Well, I'm glad to be here
Man,
with you. Hey, sweetheart.
good to
You got
see you.
those lips red as I don't know what. You remember
Look,
you remember your
the
grandmother would be,
Pentecostal
oh
community has come a
Lord have
long
mercy.
way. Okay, we've
Oh,
come
you'd
a
have come a
long
long
way.
way. Your grandmother would be on. So I'm looking at myself and I say, I look like Uncle Maxie. I look like my brother Max.
You do look like Uncle Max. You look a lot like Uncle Max,
I
actually.
don't we're almost twins when I look at him,
Yeah, for real.
except he's overweight.
Oh, Daddy, Uncle Max looks good. I
He
I saw some
does.
pictures of Uncle Max from like the 70s, 80s, 90s. He looks good.
70s, 80s, 90s. It's a 2022, girl.
I mean, he still looks good, but I'm just saying he's been foxy. You're not about to
Well,
give me in
okay.
trouble for Uncle Max.
Yeah,
All right?
okay, okay. You know, I've got the bishop with me, so whenever
Yeah,
I hit a
Bishop.
roadblock, I'll have him push in for me. But I've
Yeah,
got the
yeah, yeah,
Bishop
yeah, yeah.
Keith Clark from Oakland.
Keith
So you
Clark.
got
That's my
Northern and Southern California.
that is my brother. So yeah, we could
Right.
definitely bring him on. Daddy, did you know you're my favorite preacher? Did I ever tell you
I am?
that?
Who is
Yes,
me? You got to be kidding.
yes.
What
You
about
are my
TD?
favorite preacher. How, what you say?
I best TD.
Now I love Bishop Jakes. I'm not gonna lie. He's
Oh,
probably
yeah.
my second. But you got that first
Oh,
one. And you've had it
okay.
for a really long time. And I'm gonna tell
I
you
mean,
why.
is it out of my ability to preach, or is it just because of your emotional connection?
It's probably a little bit of both, but it's mainly because of your ability to preach. Because let me tell
Okay.
you, you bring a certain flavor. I feel like you
Yeah, I
bring a
take
certain
it.
flavor to preaching.
I'll
I
take
do.
it.
You bring, because I was thinking about it today, and this is what it is. You bring intellect, you dissect the scriptures in a very unique but practical way. So we know how to apply it to our lives. And more than anything, you have swag.
Yeah.
You have
Sound
swag.
like, sound like I'm listening to my funeral.
Look, that's why I'm giving you your roses while you're still here, man.
Okay, I'll take them. I'll
I'm
take them.
giving you
Loretta
your
said
roses.
I should have washed my face.
Oh,
But
you're a
anyway, I know you didn't. We're not having this show for you to extol
no,
the
we're
virtues
not.
of
But
my
I'm going
ability
to give you my
to
rose. I'm going to give you my roses
articulate the
because
scripture.
you deserve it, Dad. You deserve it. I love you
I
so
love
much.
you too.
But
The
let's.
only problem I have now is I made a man out of you.
Oh gosh, what does that mean? You know what? You're about to go down a different road. So
Well,
we
I'm
can
going down the road because I
go
know it's going to start something.
on.
Uh, I no, I made you tough as nails.
You think so?
Oh yeah, you tough as nails. You know, when you can look me dead in the face and straighten me out, you know I got a problem.
But what
But
do you?
I have always loved strong women. Your mother was exemplified strength,
Yes.
uh, and very strong, and frankly, I don't see any difference between genders. Very frankly speaking, I don't see any difference between genders,
Yes.
except for dimorphism, except for the fact that women sexual dimorphism, where
Mhm.
women have to carry babies. Other than that, intellectually, cognitively, creatively, when you start dealing with women from any perspective of the intellect, there is absolutely no difference.
Well, let me tell you, I agree with you because you want to
Of
know what
course
I
you
was
would.
because you know what I was gonna say. You're
What?
brilliant, you're intellectual, and the apple don't fall far from the tree. So
Well, and I just happen to be a man and you happen to be a woman.
that's the only difference. But you know
So
what?
that's cool
Well,
too.
speaking about your swag, I always tell the story about you walking me down the aisle. And we'll see pictures. This is at the wedding. You'll see pictures of us talking, or you'll see us talking on the video, right?
Right?
What I was telling this man was to turn some of that cool down.
Yeah, you told me turn it down.
I said, "You're
I,
too cool. Turn it down. This is
yeah, I
my
tried to
event."
turn it down a little bit, but you were so beautiful, and the occasion was so enormous in my thinking. Here am I walking this child down the aisle to a wonderful guy. Because I always like Babu. I like Babu. I like his innovation, his creativity. I like the fact that he was his own man. And I'm saying I'm bringing when I'm walking down the aisle, it's going to be a battle. If he thinks it's going to be a lot of docility, it ain't going to happen.
Oh Lord.
But still, but
Let
but
me tell
equals marry.
you, equals married, and you're getting married, and
Yeah,
congratulations. I'm
yeah. I ain't
very
talking about
happy
no
for you.
wedding. I ain't
Yeah, I'm
talking about no
very,
wedding.
very
You
happy.
happy for me?
I'm happy for
Uh,
you and LJ. She's a strong woman,
well,
so
she's a very strong woman. Come over here and say hello.
I love
You
her.
come over here and say, come on over here and say hello. Come on, quick. Just
Let me
just
see your
point
face,
and
LJ. Okay, well that's okay.
we
Well, I
don't see
love
her
you.
face. She on
I
the
love
way.
you. I'm
Yeah.
so excited. Hi, LJ.
Bye, LJ. Bye.
We'll talk later.
Bye.
Okay, so let's get into this conversation. Let's get into this conversation. So, Daddy, this is my first question to all
All
of
right.
my guests. My first question has to do with the fact that we can't relegate God to the church. As you know, a lot of my work has to do with bringing God out of the box. You can't box God in, right? God is all around us. We could see him every day if we paid attention, and so we should see God everywhere, right? So my question for you is, where have you seen God lately?
Well, it's very subjective, and I don't know that there. Well, obviously, there's no right or wrong answer in something as subjective as that. But I have seen God in the behavior of my younger friends who have decided to take on the task of touching people outside of the traditional circumstance of church.
Yep.
And what I have seen that, particularly Keith, and I think I'm glad we've got
Yeah,
Keith
that's
here.
what I was about to say. We can bring him on right now.
Keith,
Here,
I
I'm
think,
adding him.
yeah, add Keith.
Hey, hey,
Keith,
hey, hey, hey.
Brother,
How
all
you
right, now
doing, Tim?
good to
Now
see you.
let me lead into this, and then I'll let it go. Keith is seeing God in a place where I made an example of him Sunday and the other day, Bible class somewhere, and I made an example of him from the mere fact that he has the unmitigated gall and audacity to teach in the club. So here's the club
Yep.
schedule. The club schedule is they're going to do some lap dancing, they're going to do some
Uh-huh.
stripping, but
Uh-huh.
from 7 to 8, we're going to
Uh,
have the Bible.
yeah.
So I'm seeing God vicariously through his eyes in a situation that maybe at 72 I wouldn't dare to do. And then, knowing me, I might. Well, so Keith, please help me on this because I've come to a roadblock. She's asking me, where have I seen God lately? And I'm saying, I've seen God through your eyes in
Yeah.
your motorcycle club. And go on.
First of all, thank you so much, Tiff, for allowing me to be a part of this final episode. And I have watched you throughout the year. It's been amazing. So
Mm,
thank you so much for all of the work that you're doing. Bishop, thank you also, sir, for bringing me in, and Tiff, you allowing. I think for me, seeing God, uh, where I've seen him is I've seen him in the places where folks seem to need him the most.
mm,
And because of that, for me, it has been an experience. I could remember one night when we were teaching at the club, apartment C, East Oakland. It's what we call back south a hole in the wall. And we're there teaching, and it was the best experience for me until I walked out and I told Denise, I say, sweetie, I can do this every day of my life
yeah.
because, to see God for me has been places where people need it the most because sometimes within the confinements of the church, folk don't think they need God as much as they used to.
Uh-huh.
So that's been
Uh-huh.
my experience.
Yeah, and that's the work that I do and will continue even during this break is really encouraging people to not only understand God within the church. Often that is how we are raised. That's how we're socialized. That's where our spiritual, introductions take place.
Yeah.
But in order to be fortified, which is the conversation that we're going to right now, you have to know God outside of the church.
Well, the interesting thing is the question was asked, and I think it's a very germane question. How is Pentecostalism more significant now after the pandemic? Seeing that individuals had to have a more subjective relationship with God that was not influenced by preachers or
Right,
prophets or any such thing, because they had to meet Him for themselves in a situation where everything was closed.
right.
So, is Pentecostalism more vibrant now than it's ever been? Or is the nominal church more significant than it's ever been? What is the strength of where we are right now?
Well, I'm the one who's supposed to be asking the questions, Eddie, not you. Like, are you
Oh, I'm
trying to
sorry.
take over
I
this
apologize.
conversation? What
I'm
is
sorry.
happening?
I'm sorry. I'm,
I'm
I'm
like,
sorry.
that is nowhere on my list of questions
Go on, hit me,
that
hit me.
we're doing.
All right,
But
hit me. I'm here. I'm here. I'm ready for the. But
but I tell you what,
I've got a backup, so you can hit it any
no, but
way
let
you
me
want
tell
to.
you, we probably will circle back to that question because I think it has a lot to do with being fortified for one. For
Yeah.
two, you know, I
Okay.
I I told the audience last week or week before last that, to your point about that, in my dissertation, what I did determine was how spiritual development happens by going through something, right? You can
Okay.
be initiated into spirituality or introduced to spirituality by your circle of people, a lot of grandmothers, a lot of family members going to church. But when you talk about spiritual development and being in a place to be fortified, that has to happen individually based on what you go through. Like, can you really claim to be spiritually mature or even have a certain level of faith if that faith isn't tested?
Oh, very
How
good
do you
point.
know?
I have to concur and I have to agree that, and I can't remember who said it to me. I don't think it's Kevin Adam. Somebody said it to me the other day that faith that is not in turmoil, or faith that is not in a position where it's being tested because conditions aren't conducive to what it is that you accept or what it is that you want, that faith that cannot handle turmoil is no faith at all.
Hmm.
Because remember now, faith defined expectation, the hope of things
Mm-hmm.
not seen, the elikos or the conviction. So if you're dealing now with the hypostasis, which is the substance of things not seen, but the
Mm-hmm.
elikos or the conviction of things, then you're saying that hope becomes an integral part of faith. And hope is the workhorse of faith. Because hope, as Jürgen Moltmann says, it disturbs the present. Where I am right now is not utopic. I have expectation that I'm coming out of this situation. And
Mm-hmm.
sometimes coming out of that situation is death.
Mm. So that's the if not clause.
If not, yeah, because you see,
Explain
death,
what that is.
death for the child of God. All right, let's take the if not clause. I had it wrong for many years when I would say that he will deliver us. Nebuchadnezzar king live forever. Uh, we are not careful to answer you concerning this matter. The God we serve is able to deliver us from the burning fire furnace, and he will deliver us out of your hand. But if not, we're
Mm-hmm.
still not going to bow. The issue that I thought at first was we know he's able, we believe he will.
Right.
He's able, he will. But what I failed to understand was the king, Nebuchadnezzar, gave him two challenges. One is, we're going to heat the fire seven times hotter, and You got to be delivered out of the fiery furnace. Then the second thing he said to them, and who is that God that
Yeah.
is able to deliver you out of our hands? And they responded, the God we serve is able to deliver us out of the fiery furnace, which is one action. Secondly, and he will deliver us out of your hand. So
Mm,
it's not knowing he's able, believing he will. They believe he's able and they believe he will.
mm-hmm.
All right. But
Mm-hmm.
if not, we're still not going
Right.
to bow down. You see, if I die for what I believe in, I still win.
Ah.
If he delivers me, I win.
Mm-hmm.
But the only way I lose is if I bow.
Right.
See, and I'm
Right.
not the bowing kind.
Right.
It is so important to understand that, and that's the kind of strength that makes for us to survive even all this white supremacy and all that stuff. And we're not going to bow.
Mm-hmm. So you're speaking about where we are right now, and you've been speaking about it from an eschatological point of view,
Yep.
right? Would you say that these are the end times? Are these the last days? Are these the days? Remember when we used to in Sunday school go to the chapel and watch those scary movies about
That scare you.
about
That scare
Revelation
you.
and about the last day? Like, are we
Right, right.
living
I
with
kept you all scared.
Them Left Behind series.
That
left?
left
Let me
behind.
tell you. Okay, I used to have nightmares about that. Eric still has nightmares about that.
Did you do that, Keith?
What's that?
The left behind series. I
Oh
scared my
man.
kids. I kept them so scared.
Listen, I got saved every time I saw that all over again.
I'm telling you. I'm
Yeah,
telling you.
whatever it was.
But
The
are we
issue of the
living
last
there?
days, 606 BC. 606 BC became the time of the Gentile. Now, the fulfillment of the Gentiles' spiritual times of the Gentiles' world. So the world operation now, the Jews aren't in running nothing. They're
Mhm.
richer than everybody, but they're not running it. It's the time of the Gentiles.
Hmm.
And the time of the Gentiles, 606 BC, Nebuchadnezzar, all the way across the Medes and the Persians, Alexander the Great, the Romans, and of course, Roman introduced democracy, and the democracy ends up with the clay and the iron, which ultimately here comes a stone out of the mountain, and now you've got millennial. But and then the Jews are running things times of the Gentiles. But we're actually been in the last days since 606 BC,
Right.
last days, time of the Gentiles. But when you want to know the last of the last days, you
Mm.
got to focus on Israel. That's what Jesus said in Matthew 23, 24, 25. Jesus made it plain. He said, when you see, don't get worried when you see the false prophets and
Right.
the false teachers. The false teachers are to the church. The false prophets are to Israel. So be careful. But when the last of the last days is going to be focusing around Israel, and we're not there yet. We're heading there because once you do the situation with the oil and you're cutting off Europe with Russian oil, and Russia is pretty much just about defeated by the Ukrainians, and then that makes the whole Middle East more significant, and that throws us back to the last of the last days. You got to go to the Middle East. Israel is the center of the end of things from a biblical perspective.
So they say that the USA, and I think you told me this, is
It's never
nowhere
in prophecy.
in prophecy.
No,
What does that mean? What does that mean for
that
us?
that means that we're going to destroy ourselves internally, and
Oh,
we're heading that way now.
and you can tell
We're
we
heading
can.
that way. I mean, can you imagine in America somebody coming up against our democracy? Black folk don't have a chance if we don't have the paper. We need the paper. We need the
The
Constitution. We need the
Constitution.
paper. Whether y'all wrote it for us or not, we need the paper.
Right. Well, we need to
We need the
restructure.
Constitution. Come on.
Yeah.
That's the only reason we got this black lady in. And I gotta pull your legs. I gotta pull your legs of this black lady that you said remind you of everybody. No,
She
remind
does.
you of your mother, remind you of
She
your
does.
mother-in-law,
She
Remind
does.
me, your auntie,
Because let
remind
me
me,
tell you
remind me,
why.
remind me.
Let
So,
me tell
so
you
what
why.
makes her so distinct? What makes her so brilliant if she remind you of
That's
every
the point.
normal
The
person?
point is that that is all of us. All of us are brilliant. All of us are distinct. All of my
All
mom,
right, all right, all right.
my daughter, my best friends, and the fact that she's only 51.
I'm gonna
Like
let the
she's
Reverend
someone
handle
who
that
would have,
because you done skipped under me. I can't do nothing. You my daughter. I can't.
all of us
What
are
makes
all
her
my friends.
exceptional?
Like she reminds me of every like all the bomb
Yeah,
women in
from
my
a
life.
physical point of view, from a
She's
physical
doing
point of view, looking at her, then we got to,
They're just doing amazing things. So you're spying on my Facebook. You didn't even comment on that. So that means
no,
you're
I ain't said a
spying.
word. I was waiting till now. I
You're
thought I'd
spying.
get you now.
So you're saying that things
I'm
are going to
saying
get
she
worse.
is exceptional intellectually. She may look like everybody else.
100%. 100%. And she reminds me of all the black women in my life doing exceptional things in their
Space.
space. In their
Okay.
space.
All right. I hear you. Back up. You
So this
got
is
me.
my question. So you're saying that things are going to get worse before they get better.
Every day. That's the whole issue of being fortified. See, the
So
issue,
let's
go
go
ahead.
into fortify. What's your definition of that?
My definition of fortification is having the internal strength that gives you the capacity to deal with every circumstance and situation that comes your way. That's how I view it.
Say
That
it
an
again.
in the
Say it again.
that when you're fortified, you have the individual idiosyncratic strength to deal with every circumstance or situation that comes your way. And you understand faith now in terms of one's historical journey. So, whatever your life brings you, at the end of the day, you have to have the strength to be able to handle whatever your life brings you.
Mhm,
Divorce, children sick, you sick, losing of a job, circumstances going haywire, ecology falling apart,
mhm,
the political world falling apart. Whatever you have to deal with, you should be fortified to handle it. That's what I'm saying. And that's what I believe. I believe that the word of God deals more with strengthening individuals than it does with fixing circumstances.
mm. So not
You,
taking you out. Go ahead, Bishop.
no,
Help me, Bishop.
I just wanted to comment on what you said, Bishop. And I think, Tiff, it goes to a statement you said earlier in terms of what you have been able to do through the show and other things of teaching people that their relationship with God has to be authentic and real because you cannot confine it to a space. When you talk about this issue of fortified, Bishop, you mentioned about the bad teaching coming
Mm,
from the church. I think we taught people to look for God in a system as opposed to look to God within ourselves. There was something you said a few weeks ago. We were talking, and you were quoting a guy. I can't remember. I remember the quote that we are atheists to the God within us.
atheist to
Yes,
the
sir.
God within us.
That's Michael Moss.
We're
That's
atheists to
straight
the God
Michael
within
Moss.
us. And so the pandemic hits, and now our faith is weakened. Our experience with God is diminished, all because we think the God I'm looking for is in a building or with people.
Or is outside of us in the world environment,
That's exactly
but
right.
not in us. And I think that Michael is strong on that point because Michael elaborates the fact that the God in you is
Yeah.
using your intellect, using your hands, your legs, your feet, using who you are. So he does more through you than he does for you. And the for is not independent of you.
Say that last part again.
The for, when God does something for you, it's not independent of you.
So you are working with in partnership with God. to do through you,
Work
or to
out your
do
own
for
salvation with fear and trembling, because it's both God to do and to will in you.
you. Mm. So it's not like we're
Eh,
just going to sit on the couch and eat bonbons. Remember, you used to talk about eating bonbons all the time, Dad? So we're not going to sit on the couch and eat bonbons all
I would
day.
tell you that every day. You're not going to sit on the couch and eat no bomb. You're going to get up and get it. You're going to exercise. It's exercising. Sunday, I dealt with the whole issue of a candidate for revelation. And you got
Yeah,
to exercise. You
yeah.
got to exercise to go to the next level.
Exercise,
If you
right.
don't use what you have,
So what
I
does
mean,
that mean?
look
Well,
at
I'm
me
gonna
now.
start.
Look
Okay,
at
go
me
ahead.
now. Now,
Yeah,
with all of, I done spent all this money to get you educated, right?
right,
And you gonna go somewhere and sit and wait for a man to take care of you, I might have a problem with that.
right.
You got to see him eye to eye. Hey,
Mm.
I'm not here for
Yeah,
you. I ain't no baby mama.
yeah.
Ain't got no job, ain't got nothing to do. I
Mm-hmm.
am viable. And when you meet me face to
Face
face,
to
eye to
face.
eye, head on. Ain't no disrespect here based
Yeah.
on the fact that I've got the mentality that I need somebody to take care of me.
Mm-hmm.
You
So
understand what I'm saying?
when you say exercise,
And
because I
that's the
like that.
relationship with God. The exercise is this: you take every opportunity that seems to be adverse.
Yeah,
You get on a plane, I get on a plane, and I'm sitting there with the flight attendant comes and she's having a bad day.
uh,
And I'm saying to myself, by the time this joker lands,
mm-hmm.
I'm going to have this lady in love with me.
Yeah,
You understand? I'm going to treat her with the patience, long suffering, kindness, gentleness. I'm going to treat her with all of the fruit of the Spirit, because this is my opportunity. When if Randy and I are going to have a row, that ain't no time for me to be throwing no fists at my brother. That's a time for me to have an opportunity to say, okay, I apologize, show my humility, and hope he shows his. You know what I'm saying?
yeah.
When somebody looks at you funny in the street or says something, when a church members dislike you, it's your opportunity to show love, right? So now I'm exercising.
And yeah, and not only is it your opportunity, it's it means that you are not being influenced by what's around you. It means that you are
Right.
going to be who you are, no matter the environment, no matter who you come against. If you're all about love, you're going to be all about love. If you have the fruit of the spirit, then your outside environment isn't going to influence that. It's not going to impact that. You're going to impact that environment based on who
Now,
you have and what
now,
you have
now you're
inside.
back. You're back to Michael Moss again. The issue now is not a matter of what I want, but it's a matter of who I am.
Yeah.
Yeah.
My expression is not based on what I want.
Yep.
Yeah.
My expression is based on who I am.
And it's living with a mentality that every opposition is an opportunity for me
Mm.
to bear fruit.
Every opposition is an
It's an
opportunity for me
opportunity.
to bear
These guys,
good.
these guys can say. It take me all day to say what they say in one sentence. I'm through.
Well, this is my question though for you and Bishop. What do people generally get wrong about being fortified? What do they get wrong about it?
Oh, in a sentence,
Yeah, sure.
what they get wrong about being fortified is looking for somebody out of themselves to perform and to accomplish.
Yeah.
Mm,
I, I, I agree totally. It's thinking it's an outside job.
That's right.
It's not an outside job. But
It's not.
again, I can't blame, and Bishop, you have helped me to see this during this pandemic through our conversations. I had to be the first person to repent, because though I was preaching the Bible and teaching the truth, I taught it from a perspective of it's something that the Holy Spirit offers you, as opposed and if you cooperate, as opposed to something that the Spirit is doing through you. So getting focused back on Jesus and relationship. You see, when we teach relationship, then from relationship flows responsibility, flows the issue of love and maturity. But if we're teaching an arrangement, then I'm going to do my part, God's going to do his part. And the problem is, my badness doesn't stop his goodness. All of that happens because it's an inside job. And so when we start teaching, and I to focus on personal development through the Spirit of God, I think that's when it's going to change. But until then, we've got a lot of believers, Tiff, who think being fortified is something happens when you get to the building. If
That's good.
something, and if you're not there, you're in bad shape.
I hear a little
Never mind.
echo, and so I need you to repeat that. God, you said that God's bad, that my badness, because I hear a little echo and it's kind of going in and out. The echo is so, and I
Yeah.
want
I'm
everyone
sorry.
to get this. So repeat just that line again.
That God, my badness does not stop God's goodness.
Yeah,
My conduct does not change his character.
yeah,
And when I think I have an arrangement, I'm thinking that when I'm bad, he's going to stop being good. That when
And
I'm
that can
off,
become and that can become very confusing
yes, sir.
yeah,
if you
yeah.
don't understand the dynamics of the rain falls on the just and the unjust. You
Mm,
got to understand those dynamics. This is why when you're dealing with the boys, when you are out on the extreme, witnessing to the gang members, and not only that, but the, the cycle club,
yeah,
those gang groups, and those guys said, "Well, can the Lord can help me to win with a bad hand?" You know, well,
yeah,
they're understanding it in relationship to their everyday experience. And that's where
right.
faith operates. And that's where we've got to understand that the Bible spends more time making individuals strong enough to deal with any circumstance. And it starts with Jesus. You would
Yeah,
think that, listen, where was he born? He was born
mm,
in a manger. You would think that
danger.
the way we talk about king's kids today, and oh, we king's kids, and it shows an entitlement to the child of God instead of an empowerment.
Mm,
The deal is not to make us entitled, but to make us empowered. So, a child of God, if you're a king's kid, then you're showing your king's kidship,
yeah,
showing that you're a king's kid is not in all that you acquire, but it's in how much you sacrifice.
it's in your sacrifice, not your.
Yeah. Not acquisition. It's sacrificial, not acquisition. But
Mm,
what we've done is we've made all of the wonderful things of God money and not relationship. Your mother said to me, Your mother said to me early in our marriage, your mother said to me, when I said, the finance are tight, let's go live with my father and mother. Your mother said, no. She said, I'd rather be with you in one room shack, just you and I in one room shack, where we're looking at the bathroom from the bed, than to be anywhere else.
yeah,
So being comfortable was not her issue. Being with me was the issue.
yeah.
You follow? It's
Uh-huh.
a big difference. What
Right.
we are projecting to the people all over the world is your situation with God will be comfortable. That ain't the truth. That ain't the truth. Because what's happening to the children of God that are Ukrainian now,
Mm-hmm.
with Russia all over 'em?
Yeah.
Now, if they were like us in America, I mean, I went to Nigeria, I'm preaching outside, 300,000 people. The rain is on. I mean, they put the chairs over their head to
Yeah.
wait for the message. Now, with that hairdo you got now, Could you allow any water to
Actually, I could because
oh, yeah, water? You
it
be
will be
I got
fine.
to go. I got to go. I got to go. I
But
done
yeah,
spent
in
seven
general, I
hundred
don't like to
dollars
get
for
my
this
hair
hair.
wet. So you're
Thank
right.
you.
You're right.
Black
I don't want
women
to get my
don't
hair wet.
swim, do they? Black women don't swim.
Look, look. But no. This has me thinking about a couple of things. One, how living in a capitalist society has influenced what we feel is a blessing. It's all around us, right?
Sweetheart, ain't no answer. Ain't nobody can speak to that. You said it all right there.
Mhm.
We preach Americanism for gospel,
Exactly.
right? And you have been one of my biggest advocates when you
There,
would say to me all the time that
mhm.
we just can't
Hold on,
have
Dad. Hold on,
church.
hold on. There's a little echo over there, and so I can't hear
Oh,
you clearly.
no, you have said to me all the time that the whole church situation shouldn't be one that is pastor centered.
I used to tell you that all the time.
The operation of church should be
Mhm.
community centered, not
Yep.
pastor centered.
Yep.
And the problem is that most people don't see community and see making other people's lives better. They see gathering, as Keith said a while ago, they gather into a center to receive that that pill of entitlement.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's bad. It's bad. So when you go out of your way and you go into places where Jesus would have gone,
Right.
you're going to have trouble with the disciples.
Mm-hmm.
Don't go to Zacchaeus' house. Uh, Jesus said, suffer the little children. Don't deal with the children. Don't deal with the woman at the well. Don't deal. So what are they doing?
Yeah.
What are they doing? They're sitting around arguing who is the greatest among us.
Focused on the wrong thing.
Yeah, leave the Syrophoenician woman. Go
Yeah.
down the list. The
Yeah.
woman with the issue of blood. How in the world is he dealing with her? She
Mm-hmm.
shouldn't be here. So
Hmm.
whenever you take the step to go into all the world,
Yeah.
even into cyberspace,
That's right.
to deal with the connectors as opposed to the assemblers.
Mm-hmm.
Now
Mm-hmm.
the assemblers are saying the connectors ain't saved.
I think it also involves, Tiff, when you talk about this capitalism and us teaching that, I think we have to bring people back to the reality that part of being a follower of Christ is self-denial.
Mm.
And because we are so selfish, because I think greed and all of it stems from selfishness.
Yeah.
And we've taught that. Listen to the kind of stuff we've said prior to COVID, because I'm believing the church coming out of COVID is far better than the church that went in. We said stuff
Yep.
like this. Oh, I come this morning to get my word.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
need my blessing. Now
Yeah.
you're in a room full with all these people,
Yeah.
and we've engaged like that. When you look at the early church, there were messages that touched individuals, but they built up the fellowship. Paul
Mm.
says, for the edifying of the body, right? So when you said you would tell dad it can't be pastor centered, it
Right.
is so true. It's a team. It's a movement,
Right.
and we've turned it into a monument.
Ah. So it's individual faith for individual blessings is what we
Yeah,
have right now.
yeah, that's what we teach. And what we do is we what we've done is we have substituted love for faith. So if you had my faith, you could have my car so I don't have to share. Why
Right.
should you penalize me because you didn't have the faith to have the house on the hillside that I have with the
Mhm.
40
Mhm.
bedrooms when I only need two? And I should put the homeless in the rest of them. But
Mhm.
if they had faith, they could have what I had.
So that's your fault because you
So,
don't have enough faith.
so that's your fault.
But
So, So you penalizing me now.
Right.
Yeah. Then we run into another problem. Not only is that wrong, but now you got to explain why the fellow who don't believe in God or the Bible got
Got
all
it?
that stuff you saying faith giving you.
Yeah,
Reverend, now I know you all like to stir up trouble,
that's
but
You
true.
follow what I'm
but that's
saying?
a
You
point.
telling me if
That's a
I
point,
come and give my money to the church, you don't teach me how to manage.
right?
Yeah,
You
No
don't teach me nothing
empowerment.
about
No
discipline.
empowerment. You
yeah,
No
bring your money,
empowerment. You
and
see what
I'll
I'm saying?
entitle you.
Yeah, I throw my money at the altar and it's going to turn around. But then I just went to work the other day and James got a Benz and James work and sell weed on the side. And he don't bring no money to the church,
right,
but
right,
he got
right.
it. You see what I'm saying? That's
Mhm.
why that capital it's foolish. And
Yeah,
the
it is.
people that are coming out of COVID or the church that now exists and the culture, let me say it that way, the culture that we
The
have to
culture.
reach
Yeah,
can see through the game,
that's right. It's a
can
whole new
see through the
it's a
game.
whole new world. It's a whole new ball game because it's not about picking up their parents' faith just blindly. They got to see something. They got to see something. So
It
as
is
we
not
talk
a.
about
Yeah.
fortifying,
Go ahead.
the act of fortifying ourselves is a proactive act,
Yes.
right? It's not reactive.
No.
So what that means is that we really don't know what's coming down the pipe. So how do we strengthen ourselves for something that's unknown?
Well, you see,
What's the first step?
the issue surrounds the first step is to become spiritual in your thinking. That's the first step.
Hmm.
And I'm not talking about religion now. I'm not talking about going to church and all that stuff. I'm talking about having a connection to God that says, I am who I am based on this relationship.
Yeah.
So the I am, now you got to understand that the I am is predicated on whose I am.
Say that again.
The I am only has strength based on the whose I am. There is no I am that is significant unless there's a whose I am. And
Yeah.
I belong to God, and God is limitless. And my power then is where I have internalized all of the things of the Spirit of God, which means that I've got patience. I can wait a situation out. I've got
Yeah.
long suffering. I've got gentleness, kindness in my relationship to others, and all of that. So,
Hmm.
what I am doing is preparing myself to live in integrally. I was talking to Joe Paul the other day, and I
Yeah.
was saying to Joe, that our consistence, why we're respected, is that we live for the integral. We live for the truth. We live for what's honest. We live for now all of those things that are spirit given
Yeah.
prepare us to handle any situation, including death. Don't take death out of the equation because
Yeah.
it's the fear of death that causes people to act
It's
in
true.
ways they're living out of fear,
Yeah.
not out of faith. And the
Right.
problem we have with the church is we got them living out of fear, not out of faith.
That's
Because faith says, oh, if I die, so what? If
yeah.
in this life only we have hope, we are of all men most miserable.
So when you
The
talk about
power of the power of the individual is the power to handle death.
and that's what I was gonna say. And Bishop Clark, I don't know if you want to jump in,
I,
but
I
what
I want to respond to that, but for those who may have just tuned in, I thought the question was so powerful. Can you ask that again?
yeah. Yeah. So the act of fortifying ourselves is one that's proactive, not reactive. Thus, we really don't know exactly what we're preparing for. So, how do you prepare for something that's unknown?
Simple answer: put on the whole armor of God.
The
Yeah,
reason why I asked you to ask that again, because that describes not only our spirituality, for a great deal, to be honest with you, Tip, that describes us as a race of people. Most time, the Black American is more reactive than we are proactive.
hmm
You look at all of the progress we have made, it's always been because something happened to us first.
Mm-hmm.
And so we sneak in that, the devil's going to get you. I think a bishop, as only I think it's right. I think the way we get out of that is understanding that I have to live the life, or I have an opportunity to live the life God intended me every day, in every way, and around everybody.
Yeah.
You cannot be, you cannot, if I may add, the integral aspect of one's life is to live for truth, live for justice,
Mhm.
live for honesty. You live for those things. And if it even brings you to a place where you've got to decide life or death, you have done what God intended for you to do in relationship. And relationship with God is living his principles.
Right.
That's at the end of the day, it's living his principles. And you can't live his principles and be weak. It
Mm-hmm.
doesn't matter what the world is doing. And you will stand on his principles and express those things. When you give your word, it's got to mean something,
Yeah.
right? When you see somebody suffering and you have excess, it's got to mean something,
Right.
right? When you see people suffering and you don't speak up and you don't open your mouth and you are very careful to keep yourself from being ostracized or criticized, departmentalized. You can't, you got to live for the integral.
Yeah.
So at the end of the day, it's emotional when you respond to situations, as the bishop is saying. It's emotional, but you don't move into generational wealth, generational strength, generational education by reacting. You move into that by proacting. You got to say to yourself, my kids are going to Yale, my grandkids are going, my kids, and I am going to make it happen.
Right.
That now becomes, that ain't reacting.
Right.
That's setting a plan
Right.
for perpetuity.
Right. And what it sounds like you're saying about being fortified is that you're not only being fortified to live, but you're fortifying yourself for death as well.
No
Does that
question.
make sense?
No question. You're fortifying yourself not only to live, you're fortifying yourself to give in life and after life,
Mm,
period. Because uh, God would say to the biblical scriptures, get your house in order,
right.
right? Get your house in order. In other words, whatever you haven't put in place, put it in place now because you get ready to go out of here.
Because you got to
Let me
go.
tell you something about that, about dying. I'm gonna tell you something about dying. I haven't died yet, but I'm gonna tell you something about that.
Tell us what you know. What you know about dying,
I'm gonna
Dad?
tell you what you know. You ain't gonna die too easy if the wrong individual is gonna get your stuff. You got. I want to make sure that whoever gets my stuff, and I'm telling the world right now, who
Uh-huh.
I don't know can't get my stuff. Y'all better get to know me, whoever you all are.
So you're saying death is a little easier if you're
Oh,
prepared,
if
if
you're
that will is
prepared,
set up, if everything
if
is
you
in
know everything is in order,
yeah,
you that's the Lord told him, get your house in order.
order, in
So,
order.
for instance, my life now, I'm getting married, of course, that's going to be a big event. But at the end of the day, the next big event for me is
Yeah.
my funeral.
Mm,
I ain't going, at least I've been everywhere in the world. So where am I
yeah.
going to go?
Yeah.
I've done everything there that I wanted to do.
Yeah.
And so at the end of the day, the biggest event for me is going to be my funeral.
So you gonna tell us what to put in your eulogy, Dad?
Yeah,
You gonna,
I got it
you
all
gonna
set.
tell us what to put in it? That's part of the preparation. No, I'm just playing. I don't even
You
want to.
see how you've matured? 10 years ago, you wouldn't have this conversation with me.
I wouldn't want you to talk about that, and I still don't. I still don't.
Hey, but it's
No,
a part
I
of
still
life.
don't want to talk about that at
Yeah,
all.
okay, okay.
So
We won't.
we're gonna keep it moving.
Amen, Tiff. Amen. Amen.
Um, so during the past couple of years, we've talked a lot about home emergency kits, right? To prepare
Yeah,
for disaster. You
that's
may
right.
have your water, your thermometers,
That's right. That's
whatever.
right.
What items, and this is for both of you, what items should we have in our spiritual emergency kits?
Boy, you had to throw one. I, I, I need to meditate on that, but coming right off the top, and I'm talking to give Keith the chance to get the right answer. The, the emergency kit that I think is essential, because whenever there is something that comes upon you suddenly, it is your resource that you have available that helps you to overcome the immediate onslaught. For instance, I need backup. That's a police. I need backup. Shots are being fired. Send backup. I think it's one's prayer life that becomes the first line of defense.
Mm,
And that's the ability to talk to God, believing He's hearing. Because talking, not believing, believing He's hearing, and that He will give you the wisdom to handle the situation. That's what I believe. That your prayer life, that communication with God, and it does not mean being on your knees.
yeah.
It means praying without ceasing, having that conversation that immediately transfers wisdom.
Mm,
I agree with that, but let me add a sense of what I'm experiencing as I deal with people who are unchurched. For those who are watching and who will watch, I think a good place to start with that prayer life is
yeah.
to develop a prayer list.
Mm,
There is something powerful about having written, I've experienced in my life, those things you're asking God about, those things you are discussing about. It allows you to have a sense of consistency, not becoming a slave, but it's a good place to start. But then it also allows you to document.
uh,
But now, Keith, that's not the question. The question is, what do you do when you're suddenly accosted?
well, and actually, the question is that, and what items, what mindsets,
Mhm,
what should we be storing up
mhm.
so that we can be prepared for calamity?
For a situation that is not measured?
Because you
Because
have to be able
because
to draw
calamity,
from something, right? You
you got
have
to
to
draw from
draw
something, but
from something when
calamity,
it comes.
calamity is generally a place for an SOS call.
So this is my
If
question,
you're
right?
prepared, if you're prepared for calamity, it ain't no calamity.
But if we think of, well, let's think about Dan, like you just mentioned, the three Hebrew boys. For
Yeah.
them to have that kind of strength and that kind of faith, they were fortified and they drew from something to be able to say, I believe, I know, but if not,
Early teaching, early teaching.
yeah,
They had to have that teaching embedded in them. Thy word have I hid in my heart that I will not sin against you. And all of this adds to one, having a list, two, having that connection that you can say SOS and believe He's going to either give you the way out or make a way out. But
right,
much of the way in my life, much of the way out was not give me the way out.
yeah,
Much in my life was make the way out.
Mm.
And I think when you talk about those items and when you mention prayer being a priority, I thought again from the practical standpoint that praying what's on your mind and also praying, from your mind. In other words, every day there are certain things I pray for my children.
Yeah.
And it keeps me prepared for the unexpected. In that, Lord, I know my girls are living there in Houston. One of my daughters just had a procedure the other week. I couldn't be there, but because every day I'm going before God at some point through the course of the day, Lord, watch over my baby. So when this happens, it's almost like this. If I talk regular, I don't have to talk long. So in those moments when something hits me, I've got a relationship. We've been talking all day, and every day we talk about this. You see what I'm saying? I think
Yep.
sometimes we think that there's no practicality to the things that fortify us spiritually. If
Yeah.
you want to be spiritual, you got to do spiritual things.
Yes.
Well, you got to think spiritually, of course. And the thing that I pray for my kids, it's really for my kids, I've always prayed it. And that is that, Lord, don't let them get in anything they can't get out of.
I'm
That's
adding that. I'm adding that to my list.
that's just it. Lord, don't, because I know they're going to get into something.
So that,
I know they're going to get into something. That's
Wait,
practical.
now Tiff, let me know, has his prayers been working?
well, for some of us, for some of the kids, maybe not for all of us.
Yeah,
I'm thinking about
but just,
Noel. Daddy, remember when Noel got trapped in Canada with Uncle Randy?
oh, yeah, with
Because they
Randy,
were over
Randy.
there fooling around and didn't have money, what, like 25 cents to pay the
Oh,
toll?
when your son
I'm telling all the
is coming
business
from,
tonight.
when he's coming from Buffalo, New York, on the other side, coming from Canada, and he asks the man at the toll booth, do y'all take checks?
For 25 cents.
And wrote a 25-cent check.
25 cents.
I know they was gambling way too
So
much.
that prayer worked. That prayer worked in that situation.
Don't let him get into anything he can't get out of. That's has been my prayer.
But
But
what that makes
I
me
agree.
think
I think it's a mixture of both. I think Keith has got a point. And
Well, this is what I've heard though. So far in the spiritual emergency kit, I've heard prayer. So that
yeah,
means you already have to have a prayer life. You
yeah,
have to be
definitely.
praying now for what's to come, for the unknown,
Yeah,
right? Like you
yeah,
can't wait
definitely.
until you're already in a situation to start praying. You already have to have a spiritual life. You already have to know the teachings. I would throw in there community. You need to have a solid community of folks now that can help you get out of trouble should
Never
it
thought of
come.
that.
You can't wait until trouble come and now you're calling, Bobby and Robbie and all
So
these people.
long-term relationships,
It's relationships. You have to build the
relationships.
relationships now as well.
Mhm.
So we could sum it up to simply say relationship with God, relationship with others. That's
Uh,
your emergency kit.
that's right.
I
A
love it.
couple more questions and then I'll let you go. Many of us didn't have a chance to build ourselves up before the pandemic, before all of this stuff hit. So, how do we move forward now from where we are?
Well, the
What
first thing
piece
I
of
would
advice would you give to someone who's walking through calamity now?
forgive yourself from all of the previous lack of preparation and do what you just said. Seek out those who are willing to help you, those who are willing to love you through it, and have that relationship with God reestablished. Because I do believe that the relationship with God is going to direct you to the kind of networking, to the kind of people who care about you and who will move you. God moves people to people.
Yeah.
I think you, in the words of the late A. Lewis Patterson,
Mm-hmm.
I think you start where you are, you work with what you have, and you do the best you can.
Mm. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And I think wherever that person is who's listening to this. And I think when you think about it, it's only the thing you can do. You can start where you are. You can't go back, as Doc said, and blame yourself for what you didn't do. All you have is right now. And if you're listening to this, you're getting some tools. You've been following the show. You're being helped by it. Take what you have. And with the help of the Lord, do the best you can. And I think when we look at it from that way, then every day now becomes a new opportunity to express and see God and experience.
Call somebody.
Yeah.
Call somebody.
Yeah. Okay, I'm going to go off script a little bit now. I'm going to do something that I haven't done in any show because this is the season finale.
Uh-oh.
And I just want to do something new. So this section is rapid response. This is rapid response questions and rapid response answers. All right. I'm going to say a word and I want you to respond in short answer form. I want you to give a response. It can be advice. It can be just your first thought about the words that I say. Okay. One word at a time. There are 7 words.
Go ahead.
These words are based on each topic that we dealt with this season. All right. And so I'm going to give you a word. I want you to say, and when I say short answer, like 2 sentences at the most. A phrase, a word, 2 sentences at a most. Okay. This is for both you and Bishop Keith, my brother. All right. So my first word is jump.
How high?
In the right space.
When I say jump, I mean jumping into your purpose, jumping into your calling.
Into the right space.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. I was being silly. I'm sorry.
No, it's good. Good. I enjoyed it.
No, I thought it was
right
good.
Space.
I was like, well, let me just make sure. So jump.
Right space.
So
into the right space. Mine is jump. You say jump. I say into the right space.
Okay. Bishop Cart.
Fearless.
Fearlessly.
Yeah, now I'm thinking carefully.
I want you to elaborate on carefully.
It means you be wise about what you jump into. Because you might have to jump out.
Okay. Vision.
Provision.
Future.
Okay. Those are good. Win.
Sometimes.
Fortify.
So you have to be fortified to win.
When I'm fortified, I'm winning.
No question.
Period.
Yeah, but I'm going to lose. I'm going to lose sometimes. That's why I thank God for grace.
Okay, fail forward.
Catch yourself.
Progress.
Come alive. Yeah, that's good. Come alive.
Keith.
Holy Spirit.
Come alive.
Yeah.
Stay alive. Come alive, immediately I think I'm dead.
Yeah.
All right. Come alive, stay alive.
Yeah. Faith walk.
Every day.
Daily.
And last, fortify.
Strong enough for any situation.
The Christ on the inside handles the crisis on the outside.
Love it.
That's good. And my very last question that I ask everyone who comes on, Daddy, you sang this song actually on Sunday. You can't make me doubt him.
Right.
You can't make me doubt him.
You can't make me doubt him.
Go on now. Sing the song.
Well, you
Sing
can make me doubt.
it.
You
What is
can be
something?
doubting in my soul. Yes,
Yes.
in my heart. Go ahead.
What is something that nobody can make you doubt?
The provision, and I'm talking, no, let me just put it this way. The one thing that nobody can make me doubt is the
Yeah.
salvation of God,
Mm.
his salvation for my soul.
No one can make me doubt that I am God's passion. I'm not his project.
Ah, can you elaborate on that?
That God is in love with me. And because of his love, he's working on me, he's working in me, he's working through me. I'm not some piece of his creation that he just put together and he monitors and checks in on. I'm not his project, I'm his passion.
Well, you're both project and passion. Yours workmanship. That makes your project.
Yeah, that.
Yeah. You're both, but he works a project passionately. I told a young man the other day,
He
and
works a project passionately.
you know what I told the young man the other day? I said, why do you keep getting projects from the projects? You
Uh,
always got a project from the projects. No,
uh,
I'm trying to be cute like Keith now.
No,
uh-huh.
we are his project in the sense that he's working on us, but
Yeah,
not in the sense that we're objects.
right.
And I think a lot of times, I know for me growing up, one of the things, Chip, that was real problematic with me in
Yeah.
my walk with God is that I always thought I had to prove something to him. I
Uh,
always had to do something to get his approval. And I'm
mhm.
realizing, wait a minute, you already know me.
Yeah.
I'm trying to get to know you.
Yeah.
You're not trying to get to know me, and so you know what you're working with. So that's what I mean when I say we're his passion. Can't no one make me doubt that he
That's
loves me.
that's good.
God loves me, and a result of that, it helps me love other people. I'm
That's
convinced of that.
salvation.
That's
Yeah.
good.
Salvation, I have no doubt where that's going to end up. And I think we're saying the same thing in different ways.
Yeah, I think
Yeah,
so too.
yeah,
All right. Well,
exactly. In
Pops,
a way.
this is
All
it.
right, Charlie.
Close us out. Close us out. One final word about being fortified.
Well, fortification comes when we discover and understand that we are living examples of who Christ is in each one of us. So the fortification comes by us showing, expressing, and being what He is to us, through us, and for not only us, but for everybody around us. And that fortification gives us the strength to handle every situation, even unto death, even to a death where he says, my God, why art thou forsaken me? But he
Mm,
was still prepared to be the sacrifice that
mm-hmm,
was demanded of him for the whole world. And that's what I see as our fortification, being Christ like, expressing Christ, moving in Christ, and being to others what Christ has been to us. And
mm.
then we're fortified.
That's good. Thank you so much, Dad. Thank you so
I
much,
love you.
my
I
brother.
love you. And I had my help. I told you that one
Yeah.
of the things you do is you make sure when you got a SOS, you can call Keith Clark.
Yeah.
SOS.
Well, I tell you what, this is what I want to do.
Yeah.
Every last episode, I think you should be my guest every last episode because
Well,
y'all
you're the
just brought
boss.
it together so well. Not every episode, every season. Every last episode of the season. I'm like, come on. This was
All right.
awesome.
I'm
I
with you.
love you too. I'm gonna remove you guys from the thing, but don't go anywhere.
I love
Thank
you.
you. I love you. Thank you all so much for hanging with us today. Thank you for hanging with me this entire season. I will be back in maybe a month and a half. But be sure to stay updated with me by going to tinyurl.com/follow DRT, Dr. T. All right. As I say every time, um, please try to see God everywhere and start by seeing Him in yourself. All right. Love you all. Bye.